Hey guys, welcome back. So now, just recently, Matt Reeves, the director for 2021 The Batman, which will be starring Robert Pattinson in the role of the Caped Crusader. But recently, Matt Reeves had taken to Twitter and he had posted the test footage for the new Batsuit so they could see how the light hits the different textures, how Pattinson looks in the suit at certain angles, so on and so forth. And with us seeing this, I just wanted to give my thoughts real quick. And really, these are just thoughts from like 30 seconds of visuals, which are also only from the torso up, but even still, there's so much to look at here. And like one of the first things like a few of us was talking about on Twitter, and it was like the Daredevil / Arkham Knight vibes it was giving off. Because especially like when you look at the chest, to where it seems to be like a modular dual batarang setup where he can probably press them in to dispense however many are on each side, to where then I'd imagine they'd unfold and he could just draw them as quickly as he needs. And that's just my guess, just from what we're looking at. Like, don't for one second think you come into this video and I got some inside information. Nah. And this is no more than just observation and speculation. But aside from like the dual batarang theory, but I also really like how the chest of the suit has its lines and contours that give you a very rigid type of vibe, which also just makes surfaces pop, like when the light hits it and there's like this dark drop off. But out of everything, I gotta say this is the main part that really gave me those Arkham Knight vibes. And really it was like this part as far as the chest and the shoulder as well, more so the shoulder, we'll get to that in a minute. But it was around these areas that gave me the vibe of like the games, mainly like your Arkham Knight or even your Telltale series, but just with a different bat symbol. And I gotta tell you, like the Telltale series, like I like that suit a lot. Like between that one and Arkham Knight, like those have gotta be two of my favorite close to live action style suits. But also like with the Telltale suit, to where you had like your latches, like the one that covered the plate over his ribcage, it almost seems like we'll be getting a similar type of system to this, because like if you look right above the chest, like when we start getting to the shoulder, like in that area just below the cape, above the chest, and just behind the shoulder, like you got those same type of straps, which I assume we'll see throughout the suit, the same type of system once we get a better look at the rest of it. But while we're in this area, I will say that I wish that we did get a bit more movement, and this is something that we may get later on, who knows. But I did want to get more movement as far as the straps working with different tensioner cables, because like for me, ever since seeing those in the games, like in my mind, I just imagine that not only do they give Batman more flexibility without compromising the armor too much, but also assist him while fighting, so he could grab or punch harder while preserving his energy. But I think the Batman we're getting is like year 2. So these things may improve with time, so they may be intentionally leaving improvements for the design according to the story for the film. But I was also thinking, like before we get into the cape and the cowl, as far as the bat symbol, which is pretty much going to be the new bat symbol for some time, like let me know what you guys think about it. And this is probably an example of 90% of how it'll look, because we still don't know what they're going to do with the ears as far as the symbol goes. But as for me, I will say that I like it, and it also gives me the Arkham Knight vibes, but also a bit more tactical. But from here, just making our way up and just really just going from bottom to top, because that's where the camera wanted our eyes, so that's where we're going. But from here, one of the first things that caught my eye was the collar. Like we are straight up going with the Batman collar. And just to be honest, I don't know how I feel about this part. And I mean, it doesn't look too obtrusive, so I'm not that worried about it, but I will say it was the first thing that kind of had me like, I don't know. But as far as materials like that, the cape and the cowl, the light's treated like it's a type of leather, which looks good in my opinion. And I'm talking as far as the quality of the material. Like we're gonna get to that cowl in just a little bit. Like we're gonna turn the lights on this man. But as far as the material, in my opinion, looks good. But with the choice of a collar or no collar, as of now, I would have hoped that they went without, but even still, alterations can be made, things can be changed. Like that's one of the main reasons they do these tests. But even little stuff like the embossed lines on his shoulders, or those shoulder plates, and like the little rivet that holds it on top, those parts I like a lot. Because really, even when we were talking on Twitter about the whole Daredevil vibe that we were getting, which was possibly because of the red light, which is something that I'm thinking that Matt Reeves probably added so that we couldn't see what color the suit really is. Because at one point, some people were talking about blue and gray. Personally, I'm hoping for like a black, space gray, and like another shade of gray. But even with that, I'm not opposed to the colors, because the right materials and textures will act right under the light if chosen correctly and tested well. But even if done with the gray and blue, it would have to be like a super deep dark blue to work out. Like borderline black blue that you would only see under like a helicopter spotlight or something. Like that's the only way that I see that working. But from here going into the cowl, and trust me, we're gonna cut the lights on in a minute. But from here getting into the cowl, in my opinion, it reveals more jawline than I would prefer. And that's probably one of the things that's giving me the Daredevil vibe, because his mask cut pretty deep as well. And come to think of it, Daredevil also had a collar. And at this point, man, I feel like you gotta decide either the collar or the cape, and we definitely not getting rid of the cape. But aside from that, like as far as the jawline and deciding like how much to show, it's likely an aesthetic thing, but personally I would just prefer like the smaller opening, like much closer to what we got with Christian Bale. And I don't think they have to cut in too deep, just like another inch or perhaps 1 inch less of skin. That's all I'm saying, because even the sideburns is coming down. Like you can see them peeking through like at the back of his jawline. But so now from here, with no further ado, we finna cut the lights on. And like from here, like one of the first things I noticed you guys were saying, like the stitching, like you guys were thrown off by that. And personally, I don't mind the stitching too much, but I do hope they improve the structure around like the eyes, nose, and like the cheekbones. Because with the nose, I don't mind it being flat towards the front, but in my opinion, it should have a rigid consistency with the rest of the suit. And just from what we're seeing at this point, I'm not getting that. And like I said, I know this is a camera test, and a number of things can change between what we see now and what we see next year. And I'm sure we'll even see more before then. But also with this said to be like your earlier version of Batman, it's likely that we can get more than one suit in the first film. And even though I still got my hopes of a live action Arkham Knight suit, I still have this feeling that we're a good ways from seeing Robert Pattinson step into a suit this advanced. And I could be wrong, I hope I am. But even still, with the look of the cowl that we're getting right now, I'm just not getting that vibe. But aside from that, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Because another thing that I thought we would see in this clip, and mainly just because of the way that the clip began, but another thing that I thought we would see in the clip would be the ears. And I was trying my hardest to see it in that blurred beginning, but even still I couldn't quite make it out. But with that thought in mind, like let me know what you guys think. Like would you rather the longer ears or the shorter ones? Because personally, I think I would want like that mid-length of either like your New 52 Jim Lee or perhaps even your Greg Capullo style length. And really like with using that shorter length, I am leaning a bit more towards Jim Lee. And mainly because I feel like the length that Greg Capullo usually chooses, like it would be tough to pull off in live action because you're not far from kind of going like your Batfleck / Frank Miller short, which in my opinion is better for a more husky style Batman, which Greg Capullo, his isn't, but he makes it work at a similar length, not super short, not crazy tall, but the perfect length for a build that's similar to Robert Pattinson. But last little thing here, I think the last thing I want to talk about is the eyes, which some of you guys mentioned were too big. Personally, I think the eyes are just fine, because for me, if the nose and the cheek area weren't so much of that Adam West style, then the eyes wouldn't look as big and he would still have visibility. And once again, that's just my guess. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Really just wanted to share my thoughts and do a bit of a mini breakdown of what we've seen with this first look at the new suit, of which at this point I'm 80% sold on, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these things, if not all of them, they already worked on and perfected at this point. But I'm eager to hear what you guys think. Just let me know down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.